Hey, I'm Alex Radical from Board Game Co. And this is going to be I assume, a slightly longer week in review than usual because for a variety of reasons. First of all, there's going to be a subject in this one. Whenever we have a subject, it adds like 5-10 minutes or something like that. Secondly, there's a decent amount of news compared to usual, some of which I'll go into more than others. Timestamps below as always. And then thirdly, I played a bunch of games. That's not going to add length to this video. What else is there? No, it's going to be those two things. So, news and week in review. This is your little roundup video every week. I enjoy these. They're more relaxing than most of my videos because I could just go through stuff and talk about the week and things and all that stuff. And I'm realizing I forgot to take a note on something. We'll cover it when we get to that. Past that small little note, I generally forget to talk about this, but as far as weight loss aspects, I managed to lose a full pound last week, which is better than the 0.2 I've been doing the past month and a half. So finally starting to be a little bit more restrictive. Basically, the past month I've been constantly eating things I shouldn't eat and then hoping I'd lose weight anyway. It's weird how that doesn't work normally. So this past week I've been restrictive again. We'll see how it goes in next week's week. Anyways, moving on to that. Moving on to there, not that. Moving on, I think I said a combination of there and that. So I said moving on to thar. Yeah, thar. Moving on to thar. I'm going to focus on this way too much. Anyways, so 0.5s in my reviews. That's going to be the topic of the week. Topic of the weeks are going to be things that it's not something that's going to show up in every week in review. They'll show up when and where relevant. Usually when I have something I want to talk about, usually triggered by a comment of some sort or some sort of question, and it's not worthy of its own video, or at least in my opinion, it's not worthy of its own video. And so in that sense, I'll jump into it in the week in review. 0.5. So I had somebody ask me this past week, I think it's because I was wrestling over, there have been a few games that I've been wrestling with in terms of where it lands in my review scale. And whenever I wrestle with that, whenever I on camera say, ooh, this, that, what, maybe 4, maybe 5, okay, it's a 5 for now, maybe it'll go down to a 4, stuff like that. Whenever I do that, I usually get a comment like, hey, you need 0.5s in your system. But I don't have 0.5s in my system with great intent. I specifically moved away from the 10-point scale. When I first started doing reviews, my own system always was 5 tiers, which is really 4 because 1s rarely exist. But as my original system, and when I tried doing reviews, I started with a 10-point scale, and I really hated the fact that 1 through 5 was basically never going to be utilized. 1 through 5 is currently my 1. It's just a game that 1 through 4 is really my 1, bad games. 5, 6s, and 7s are going to be my 3s to a degree. Really more 6s and 7s are my 3s. 8s and 9s are my 4s, and then 10s are my 5s, effectively. But I didn't like the fact that I was giving myself these artificial numbers that I wasn't going to utilize. And really, I don't want that degree of precision in my reviews. The point of my scale, that I apply to my scale, is I want those categories. I want 1s that are bad games. I want 2s that are games that are not for me. And then I want good, great, and oh my freaking gosh, that's amazing. That's my 3, 4, and 5 right there. 3, 4, and 5 is good, great, and oh my gosh, that's amazing. I go into the details through the what I liked, the what I didn't like, the what I can see others not liking, and the details hopefully inform you more as to what led to that decision and whether it's a game for you or not, or to what extent it is a game for me. I would say 5s, anything I rate a 5, is always going to my collection, just off the bat. I tell you about this in the week in review as well, what's going on in my collection, what's not. 5s are always my collection. I would say 80 to 90% of 4s go in my collection. If it's a great game, it's almost certainly going in my collection. The exception is usually when that fills a slot that something else fills. So for example, at some point, there are going to be some Zombicides leaving my collection. Even though I would give those a 4 or a 5, they're just better Zombicides that give me the same experience. Rising Sun was an easy 4 for me. Not a 5. Blood Rage is a 5, Rising Sun's a 4, but it felt too similar, so I got rid of a 4. What's it called? Planet Apocalypse. Planet Apocalypse is a game that I really enjoyed it when I played it. I really, really did. But it fell into the same slot as games that I enjoy more. So sometimes 4s will not stay in my collection, but almost always because something else does it better. And then we go to 3s. 3s are going to be, I would argue, somewhere in the range of 50-50, although I would say the more I'm covering games and the faster I am playing new games, that scale is sliding. So maybe I keep, at this point, it's just off the top of my head, maybe I keep 30% of my 3s, somewhere in that range. And the idea there being that they're good games. Now, good games sometimes are worth keeping because they fit a particular slot, niche, or take a small enough amount of shelf space or playtime or any of those things. Other times, 3s are not worth keeping for myself, just because I have so many games that are more than a 3 for me. Now, a 3 for me might be a 4 for you. It might be a 2 for you. It might be a 1 for you. Who knows? But I specifically don't want the 0.5s. I don't want to say it's a 3.5, a 3.75, a 4.25. If I did that, I would jump to a 10-point scale. And if that wasn't enough, I jumped to a 20-point scale. The 0.5s exist to give myself the fake leeway of, well, I have to like X more than Y, right? And I will have that. I'll have my top 50 games of all time. Maybe this next year I'll do top 100 games of all time. But at a certain point, the precision I give to a rating almost locks me into something that doesn't tell you more. How important is it to you that I give something a 4 versus a 4.5? I'm not trying to distinguish it that much. I'm not trying to give it that aspect of precision. At a certain point, the precision I give stops mattering because it's my opinion versus yours. Now, that's always going to be the case with any review. It's always the person reviewing the game's opinion versus yours. But I'm not trying to convey my opinion past the idea that this is a great game. It might not be a great game for you, but at least you have that idea that for me it was a great game. It's going to be true of the content creators I watch as well. I love the Dice Tower's system of, they give, in the 4 squares they give, 0.5s and all that. But the general idea of Dice Tower Approved versus Dice Tower Seal of Excellence, I love that system. Seal of Excellence means they think it's great. Doesn't mean I'll think it's great, but it's a good filter. It's a good filter for finding good games. If you combine your interest in a game, if you combine your personal interest in something based on what it looks like, based on the theme, based on how it plays, you combine all that with the rating that you're getting from the content creator, and hopefully you know a little more whether it's worth it. A game that doesn't look like it's for you at all might need a 5 for me for you to even pay attention. A game that looks like it's totally for you might just need a 3. You're combining different facets, different filters in order to choose. And the 0.5s is not something I'm looking to add. I'm not looking to give that precision. Now, I will wrestle with things occasionally. I will sometimes say, could be a 4.5. The Witcher is a great example. The Witcher is a game that I rated a 5, but I said it could go down over multiple plays. So it was on the cusp. It depends on how multiple plays continue to... I mean, we had multiple plays, but 10 plays in, do I still think it's a 5? I don't know. I do plan on updating my rating scale. I do plan on doing the look back thing that Tom Vassell does, that Dice Tower does, of, a year ago. I'm not going to do 5 years ago, because it's going to take 5 years before there's even a conversation. But I will do a year ago at some point, probably in my Week in Review series. But for right now, it's my first impressions after a few plays, followed up by, down the road, how do I feel about it? And obviously, if it leaves my collection, you'll see that as well. Similarly, Rainbow Six, R6 Siege, is a game that currently is a 4 for me. That could be a 5. I believe multiple plays of R6 will move it to a 5. Same idea. Sometimes there's a line between good and great and needs to cross that. And I will wrestle with it on camera so that you have a sense of where I was and what I was thinking. But past that, it'll still land where it lands, and you can read into that how you read into that. But there's not going to be a 4.6 and a 3.85 and all of that. Or at least it's not for right now. I would say when I did my 10-point scale, I fairly quickly moved away from it. My 5-point scale I've been happy with. It feels like what I'm trying to get out of the system by adding it. And so I'm going to stick with my 5-point scale for now. And again, 5-point scale is really primarily three points. It's going to be no 1s, or very few 1s, not games that I'm playing. Again, anything that's going to be a 1, it's unlikely to be reviewed. The 2s are going to be here and there, but infrequent. And then the 3s, 4s, and 5s are going to be the more common numbers. Good, great, and oh my gosh, that's amazing. So, that is going to be that. News! That was like, 10 minutes? Something like that. Longer than I thought, but that was going to happen. So, news time. News time, starting off with AntLab Games is apparently back, and it occurs to me now I probably should have had my AntLab Games mug for this, because I got the AntLab Games mug because I've been actually doing this for a few content creators. If I like your content, I have tried purchasing a mug. If I haven't purchased a mug from you and you think I like your content, it's either because you don't sell one or I haven't gotten around to looking, but I have a few more. Like I have Board Games Intimate upstairs. I haven't actually put it on camera yet. It'll be coming soon. I have others at some point that I'll be trying to gather, but effectively, if I like a content creator, I want their mug. And in AntLab Games case in particular, it was almost a show of solidarity to a degree. Longer conversation, I'm not going to get into it now, but I didn't like the way things went down around that. And hey, the very least I can do is, I talked about it briefly in the past, but the very least if I can have a little tribute to them, that'd be great. But now I don't need a tribute for them because they're back. So basically they did a video on Geek Mavericks talking about the fact that they're going to be coming back, but slowly. They're still doing Geek Mavericks and they're still doing AntLab Games. They just dropped their first video on Tawantinsuyu. Basically, the covering this. It's the pre-gameplay for Tawantinsuyu. I recommend watching that. I'll throw a link down below. It's like a 4-minute video that was actually really fun to watch. Solid stuff. I hope they do that for all their gameplays because they'll be interesting. Next up, we have Black Rose Wars Rebirth. I've talked about this briefly in the past, but we know a lot more information now. This is going to be coming to Kickstarter August 24th from what I can see on the date, and Black Rose Rebirth is a follow-up game in the Black Rose universe with compatible content across the board. Think Kingdom Rush or any of those genres, or Arcadia Quest or stuff like that. It's going to be new content, 6 new schools of magic, new mages, all of that stuff. Basically new stuff. New graphic design as well. That might be something you might be frustrated by, keep that in mind. But all of it combinable with your original content. You will have cards that don't look exactly the same, at least from the front. I don't know if the back's going to be the same or not. But yeah, Black Rose Rebirth coming to Kickstarter August 24th. More content, which is a shame almost, because I literally just got the all-in for Black Rose Wars. I traded for an all-in pledge of Black Rose Wars because I really enjoyed my play of it. I'll have a review at some point. But effectively, I have an unboxing of the Black Rose Wars all-in that I did that will be going up on the channel sometime soon. And I don't know how I feel about keeping the old content with the new. We'll see. I'll see. I very much tend to favor new stuff over old stuff, at least if it's in any way different. This is more, not improved, so I don't know. The graphic design does make it a little harder for me to want both. Also, the amount of content there is, insanity. Anyways, that's Black Rose Wars. Divinus, something like that? Divinus, let's go with Divinus from Lucky Duck Games. Lucky Duck Games finally announced their newest title that they've been teasing. Basically, it's going to be some sort of like legacy light or legacy game where you're going to be, well, something to do with gods and stuff, and it's going to be app-based, which does have me nervous. I gave Destinies a 5 out of 5. Really love that game. That was also one I wrestled with. I was going to give it a 4, but I just couldn't stop thinking about it. I still can't stop thinking about it. I want to continue playing it, and I gave it a 5. And that's great, and it's an app-based game that I gave a 5. It doesn't mean I automatically love all app-based games now, but Lucky Duck Games in general, I've had a good track record with them. Even Chronicles of Crime, which I didn't keep, was at the time one of the first app games I was willing to keep. Multiple plays had me a little more frustrated with the system, not the app, and I moved away from it, but effectively, yeah, we'll see how it goes, but Lucky Duck Games so far, both with their games and with their app-based games, have done pretty well for me. So I'm optimistic about Divinus, but while also being aware that it's an app, and there's no guarantee I'll like an app. Next up, we have Platformer. Platformer from Awakened Realms Light. They announced this. Links to all these stuff down below, but it's going to be a link to their GameFound page. They have a GameFound page for Platformer. It's, as you might imagine, it's a, well, actually, I don't know if you would imagine that, but it's a platformer game. It's going to be a game that mimics the computer game aspect of being a platformer, where you're moving your characters up to try to get to the top, and you're like fighting baddies and collecting coins and gems along the way. Combined powers and abilities, unique character powers, cards and stuff you can unlock or buy from marketplaces as you move up, and aspects of gravity. You can fall down, you can be pushed down. So it looks like first of all, it looks exactly like an Awakened Realms Light game. It very much feels like an Awakened Realms Light game, but it looks intriguing. Also, I've already played it. We'll talk about that more soon. Next up, Drunagar. Speaking of GameFound, we have Chronicles of Drunagar Apocalypse is on GameFound. They officially put up the pre-launch page. I will shoot a link down below, so make sure to pay attention there. I believe it's coming in July. No, I know it's coming in July. I don't know exactly when in July, but coming at some point in July. We'll talk about it more when it gets closer, but more stuff there. Orange Nebula. Orange Nebula, I didn't actually see this piece of news. I meant to go I meant to go look for it before doing this video because I like to officially see stuff. But I heard that Orange Nebula announced a big box for Vindication. I don't know if that's true. I want it. Also a little frustrated it wasn't in the last Kickstarter. I'll live. But anyway, Orange Nebula, big box Vindication, maybe. I didn't see the news thing myself, so take it with a grain of salt. If there's a link down below, it means I found it since doing this video. If there's not a link down below, well, then maybe it's not true, or maybe I just couldn't find anything about it. I don't know. Arkham Horror, Battlestar Galactica. That's going to be next. Battlestar Galactica from Fantasy Flight Games is seemingly being reprinted. This is like a tease. It's a combination of Fantasy Flight teasing something with a leak that came out a while ago. And it looks like Fantasy Flight Games is going to be giving you Battlestar Galactica again, but with an Arkham Horror theme. They don't have the license for Battlestar Galactica, but they do have, obviously, the Arkham Horror universe, so it seems like they'll bring that to the table. Speaking for myself, I thought Battlestar Galactica, part of the reason it was such a good game is because the game mechanics fit the theme so perfectly. I feel like anything that's not Battlestar Galactica isn't going to be as good. We'll see, ultimately. I'll reserve judgment. Then again, I don't know if I'm saying reserve judgment. I probably won't get it either way. Battlestar Galactica, while I thought it was an amazing experience, was also longer than I would like and was a little hard to get to the table because of that. So we'll see how that plays out. And then lastly is going to be unrelated to board games. I have two pieces of non-board game news that I just found interesting, and I'm going to talk about them, which is BioShock 4. You may know this already, but I just found out that BioShock 4 is apparently going to be a thing. I love BioShock. So yes, just yes, that's all I'm saying. I'm saying yes. And then secondly, there's going to be a Borderlands movie, apparently. Borderlands 3 or whatever it is getting a movie. I mean, I played through the entire Borderlands, which is the entire Borderlands 3. I didn't play 1 and 2. I think I dabbled in 1 and 2, but I played Borderlands 3. But apparently there's a movie on it, which is cool, because I'm intrigued. We'll see how it ultimately goes. But yeah, Borderlands 3 is getting a movie. So that's just unrelated board game news. Which brings us to what I played this week. What I played this week, it was a pretty good week, all things considered. I say all things considered when I'm looking for filler words. But it was a pretty good week. I didn't get as many plays in over the weekend as I normally do. It's been, the past like 2 or 3 weekends have been fairly light as far as weekends go. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if I'm just getting old or something's happening, but less games are being played. But I made up for it by playing a lot of games during the week. So, starting off the bat, we have King of 12. Got more plays of King of 12 in. I've talked about it before. I will have a review up soon. That's Lucky Duck. Speaking of Lucky Duck games having a good track record with me, we keep playing King of 12. It is, we'll talk about it. We'll have a review. Spirit Island. Got in Spirit Island again. I had a commitment to myself that I will get 10 plays of Spirit Island in by the end of the year. I'm up to 3, and we're in June. It's looking possible, but not great. We'll see how that plays out. We will try. I want to play Spirit Island more. I want to play Everdell more. I want to play Marvel Champions more. There are some great games out there. My Singing Monsters. Got a few plays of My Singing Monsters in with Ricky. Had a review up on the channel. We'll talk about that more in the videos we talk about. Mosaic, got in another play of Mosaic. That was excellent. We got Winter Kingdom. Winter Kingdom. Why am I talking about Winter Kingdom? Yeah, Winter Kingdom. I got in a play of Winter Kingdom again. We've played it a few times in the past, and we will have a play this, not that, with Winter Kingdom versus Kingdom Builder, covering the differences, which one I prefer. We'll talk about that. Death Roads All-Stars. That is one that I have a review coming up soon, but Death Roads All-Stars is a game I've talked about already. I've played it already. Got some more plays of it. Both more online plays as well as the physical prototype. It's going to be coming to Kickstarter, I believe, July at some point. We will talk about that more. There will be a review at some point. Paperback Adventures. Ooh, yeah, Paperback Adventures. Yeah, that's fun. That was a TTS play. Effectively, I reached out to Fowers Games after seeing Paperback Adventures on Kickstarter, because I was suddenly intrigued by it, and I played it on TTS, and I actually think I'm getting this one, which is fun, because I got paperback, I got hardback, and I got rid of both of them. While I like ward games, the problem I have with ward games is you can have one player sitting there just min-maxing their turn from today until tomorrow of, no, I can come up with a better ward. And I sit there and I'm like, oh dear lord, just pick a ward already. It doesn't have to be the perfect 6-letter word. And Paperback Adventures is a solo game. So it gives me the wordplay, it gives me aspects, it makes me feel like I'm defeating monsters with my wordplay, which is even more satisfying, and it doesn't give me other players with their taking forever coming up with the perfect word. So all around, Paperback Adventures is one that I'm very intrigued by. We got that in. We have Force of Radagast. We got a few plays of Force of Radagast in. I have one solo, one with Ricky. So we got 2 plays of that one. I wanted to get more, but just timeline-wise. Force of Radagast, so I played it solo, played it with Ricky. Would not play it solo again, would play it with Ricky again. Short version of that one, well, actually we'll talk about it when we get to the review section, what the videos of the week. Cthulhu Death May Die. That's exciting. So, Cthulhu Death May Die, which I actually have the miniatures on the table over here. I finally started my campaign, a filmed campaign that I'm doing with Rena. Basically, we're going to be doing a filmed campaign of Cthulhu Death May Die. First video is going up on the channel. The others are going to be Patreon exclusive. Just because, again, I believe in Patreon exclusive content to a degree. I might be doing that with multiple campaigns over the next, whatever, months or of having one on the channel followed by follow-ups on Patreon exclusive. So we'll see, and there might be occasional ones that show up on the channel again, you know, every 5th game, whatever it is. We'll see how it goes. But ultimately, yeah, we filmed the first game. We hope to get at least another one done before we start putting it out on the channel. So it might be several weeks before you see it. We'll see how that goes. Then we have Six Siege. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I got a bunch of plays of Six Siege in with Jesse. Six Siege. I'll talk about it a bit now because I don't have anything in the review segment here. Six Siege is really, really solid. I am really enjoying it. It's one that I told you, I kind of mentioned this earlier in the video. It's one that I'm currently rating a 4, but with the potential to become a 5. And we'll go into that in the review when that goes up. But there are reasons it's not a 5 for me, and we'll get into that in the review. But I'm impressed by Six Siege. I did not think that they would do it. I did not think that a video game with an FPS aspect, a first-person shooter aspect to it, could be that enjoyable. But it's not about the first-person shooter, it's about the tactics, and the tactics are so rewarding in this game. So we'll talk about it more. Valor and Villainy, Ludwig's Labyrinth. We have some plays of, some plays. We have one play of Valor and Villainy, Ludwig's Labyrinth. Sadly, only one play just because Jesse has the only prototype, and Jesse Quackalope has the only prototype, and he was in town again, and so we got a play in it. We did some coverage of it, some playthroughs, some first impressions review. I have played the original Valor and Villainy, so we talked more about the differences between the two. Sadly, only one play. Would have loved to get more in, but overall, I think it is better than the original Valor and Villainy. I'm not saying get rid of your original Valor and Villainy just yet, because also the content is combinable. Then, Platformer. Played a game of Platformer this morning. Was it this morning or this morning's? Well, not your morning, my morning. And then also another play of Mosaic, which Mosaic review is going to be going up today. So, That's going to be the what I played. So overall decent. Most of those were during the week. Usually I play most of my plays on the weekend and getting a few during the week, but most of my plays were during the week this week. Which brings us to the week in review. Only a mere, 24 minutes in? I can't even read. My video camera says the time on it. I just can't see what it says. It's either 14 or 24 right now. Although for you, by the way, because 2 or 3 minutes was cut off in the beginning, it's not going to be either of those numbers, so you might be confused. There's a number on the screen. I'm talking about it. That's what you need to know. Anyways, Saturday. Saturday was going to be Castlescape and Fall of the Mountain King. Castlescape, short version of that one, I think it's a solid game. Not one I'm currently backing or adding to my collection. I think it's a good deck builder. But again, this goes back to the good, great, and oh my gosh, amazing categories. Fall of the Mountain King. Speaking of the oh my gosh amazing categories, Fall of the Mountain King, it's an area control game. I think for a lot of people, it's not going to be a 5. For myself, it is. Every other Burnt Island games for me is a 4 in terms of what I rate it. Endeavor's a 4, and Into Deep's a 4, and the Hollow Mountain King is a 4. They're great games. I really like them. And the Fall of the Mountain King is going to be a 5. It has area control, it has powers and abilities. It's really rewarding to manage the system. So far, I'm really enjoying it. The gnome track feels a little fiddly, but overall, really, really enjoying that one. Sunday was upcoming Kickstarters. This was the one that I meant to jot down a note of which ones I was most interested in, but I forgot to talk about the upcoming Kickstarters that I'm most interested in. Probably Wild Ascent. Whenever I'm doing these weekend reviews, I like to pick out 2 or 3 things from list videos to talk about those. Forgot to do that for the upcoming Kickstarters, but Wild Ascent I'm interested in, and a whole bunch of others that I don't currently remember. Oh, Valor and Villainy, I guess, that's also coming up, so I'll be interested in that one. We'll see. There's always Kickstarters I'm interested in, but it does seem like not as many as I usually am for a month, which might be nice on my wallet, might not be. We shall see. Monday was going to be to back or not to back with, we had Mosaic, losing my mind, train of thought here. Monday was to back or not to back, and the highlights that I picked out were going to be Mosaic, Paperback Adventures, and The Witcher. The Witcher, because obviously, Mosaic, because obviously, if you've been watching my videos, you know that both of those are 5s to me. They're both really solid games in 2 totally different genres. Mosaic review will be going up later today, so we'll talk about that. Witcher review already went up, and The Witcher Kickstarter is just fixing any potential problem I had. Well, most complaints I had with The Witcher are being addressed by the content coming on the Kickstarter. I will say the Mage stuff just released. I'm not sure how I feel about that. I'll talk about it more. There will be a full update video on the Witcher campaign and how it's doing so far, so keep your eyes peeled for that. Then Paperback Adventures, I already talked about. Paperback Adventures is solid and a lot of fun. Then we have Tuesday. Tuesday was going to be reviews for Final Fusion, Force of Radagast, and My Singing Monsters. 3 games, of which they're all okay games for me. And okay in the good category. They're good. Final Fusion is good. I enjoy the card play. I enjoy the moving around, the little powering, leveling up. I'd like to see some more abilities from it. Right now, their Kickstarter is struggling, so it doesn't look like it's something I could back either way. As of right now, I haven't even looked at the Kickstarter in depth. For me, it would depend on price point. I'm interested. I think it's a fun little system. I want to see what else they're adding, but I haven't made a decision yet. And again, I don't think that decision is relevant. Force of Radagast, ultimately, Ricky said I said it's a solid narrative game, but mechanically light, and I felt a lack of agency. I hope they clean up and tighten some areas of the game, but past that, I would say that right now, Ricky displayed an interest in it. If Ricky maintains her interest in it, then we'll go ahead and late pledge it. If she forgets about it, then we'll see. So it kind of comes down to Ricky. Seems like it was a fun game. Happy to play it with my kids. Just if Ricky doesn't want to play it, then I'm not gonna get it. Then we have My Singing Monsters. My Singing Monsters, I have to go take a look at that one. I haven't looked at the campaign either. Again, that would come down to price as well. It's a game that I'm fine playing it, but I wasn't overly impressed with it. By the way, those were Final Fusion was a 3, Force of Radagast was a 3, My Singing Monsters, Ricky gave a 3, I gave it 2. It's a game I'd rather not play. I think there are better children games out there, at least myself. My Singing Monsters will be great for people who like the app or want to slowly scale into games. They have a nice little aspect with its 5 different difficulty levels, adding more islands and more complexity to the game. So ultimately, I'll see on My Singing Monsters. As of right now, I assume I'm not getting it, but I haven't looked at the Kickstarter yet, so it'll depend on that. Then Wednesday was Deluxeification Round 3, so basically the 3rd video in the Deluxeification series. Basically once a month I'm putting out a video on Deluxeified content, and I'll keep doing it as long as there seems to be an interest in it, and so far there does seem to be an interest in it. It's going to be featuring just different stuff I got that month, the things I added to my collection. Sometimes it's going to feature things I've had in my collection, like maybe in the next video I'll throw the Too Many Bones Trove Chest in there. I finally got all the content into there. That could be the whole video on its own, honestly. Too Many Bones has a lot of stuff to it. But either way, point is, I like talking about games in all shapes and forms, and that will include the Deluxeification aspect of the hobby. Later that Wednesday, we did a 6 Siege unboxing. I already talked about this. That was actually filmed so with timelines all wibbly wobbly. So The 6th Siege unboxing was filmed a week before it went up. And since unboxing it, before the unboxing even went up, I had multiple gameplays of it. I've had gameplays after the unboxing, and then the review, which I have now filmed the review will be going up at some point as well soon. So we'll see how that goes. Then we have Thursday. Thursday was going to be Isle of Cats. Thursday was Isle of Cats, should you back it? I don't think I'm backing it. It's a lot of money for a game that I already let go, but I will say I'm tempted by it because I liked Isle of Cats. Isle of Cats is a good example of a game that I would rate. I think it would be a 4. That's one of those borderline ones. I think I'd rate Isle of Cats a 4. I just have other Polyomino games that I rate a 4 as well that I prefer playing. And Isle of Cats, the extra content they're giving makes me a little unsure. If Isle of Cats was over here and other Polyomino games were here, Isle of Cats with new content might be over here, but do I want to pay that much money to find out? And right now I'm leaning towards no, but we shall see. Secondhand market, I may pick one up on the secondhand market, so we'll see how that goes. I might be patient, wait 2 years. I'm not in a rush. I have plenty of Polyomino games. Later Wednesday was a Kemet Blood and Sand unboxing. That's another game where I filmed the unboxing, have since played it. Unboxing went up. I have not played with the expansion yet. I'm hoping to get at least one play in with the green expansion, the new power expansion. Once I do, I'll probably put up a review of Kemet. I have never actually done a review of Kemet. I've talked about it, but I've never done a full review. I think I've done Cyclades. I think I've done Inish, and Kemet I was specifically holding off till the new stuff came to talk about that. I don't think I'll do a play this, not that on Kemet Old versus New. They're too similar. I don't think there's enough differentiation to be worth doing, but maybe I'm wrong. We'll see. Anyways, that was going to be Thursday, and then finally Friday. Friday was, and again, I haven't seen this video go up yet. It's currently Thursday for me. Friday was Getting Your Partner to Play Games With You, which is a title that already you're gonna have people clicking on, both excited and frustrated with that title, because the title sounds coercive in nature. You're not supposed to get your partner to play games with you. And sure enough, the video is not about getting your partner to play games with you in the typical sense. It is much more practical suggestions on both determining your goals, what you're actually trying to achieve here, as well as if you do want to play games with your significant other, what I believe is the best way to do so without being coercive, without shoving your hobby in someone's face. So that was going to be that. And Saturday's going to be today. Today is going to be the following. We have a review for Mosaic coming up, probably at 2 p.m. And then I have a different review for something, I don't know what yet, going up at 12. I say I don't know what yet because there's a few things I'm trying to get done between this video ending and me getting things ready, but I have a backup in place if I don't get it done. So something's going up at 12, not sure what yet, and then at 2 we'll have a review for Mosaic going up, and that is basically going to be your week in review. Coming up next week, we will have a to back or not to back. We'll have some Witcher updates and some other stuff. Stay tuned, as always. It should be a fun, busy, packed week. I can't tell, are we 40 minutes into the video or 30? I can't tell. I'll go ahead and look. The time is just can't see it from here. Anyways, games. I talked about the games and stuff. These are the games I'm hoping to table this week. I hope to be getting some more plays of Buru in because I hope to have a review for you next week. I've already played this one, but I hope to get some more plays in. We have the Grand Carnival, which I've got a recommendation from Sarah Shaw from Board Games in a Minute in the video I did with her. And so, yeah, I picked it up. Anyone that tells me a game is better than Baron Park in the same genre of Baron Park, I will be getting my hands on a game to try it out. Then we have Imperium Classics, which I'd love to play either solo with my wife or both. I keep hearing good things about this one. Jeremy Howard just went on today just going on how good it was. I've heard, what's the name? Not Board Gaming has been talking about it. Lots of people have been talking about Imperium Classics. Very intrigued by it. Hope to play that. And then we have some ninja games that finally came from Kickstarter. We have Tiny Ninjas and Tiny Ninja Heroes that I hope to play with my kids because my boys love ninjas and I figured I'd get them a game around ninjas because maybe they'll play a game with me that way. They play games with me already, but they play fewer games than Ricky does. Marvel United, by the way. Marvel United has really worked for them, so that's one of the reasons I like Marvel United. Anyways, I am Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. Enjoy your weekend, and as always, have a good one.